In this lesson, we're going to focus on dividing by tens, hundreds, and thousands. Let's go ahead and first start by looking at our connection between multiplication and division. Here we have two different problems. One of them is a multiplication problem and one of them is a division problem. Now the multiplication we know how to do. When we see a problem that has a 0 in our ones place, we know that we can cross that 0 out and place it in our product. And then all we have is our basic fact of 5 times 3, which gives me 15. So my product would be 150. Now with division, we can do something very similar. We want to focus on that basic fact. So what we're going to do is we're going to underline our basic fact. We have different parts of our division problem. Our first number here in this division problem is called our dividend, and our second number is our divisor. The number that's going into the bigger number is your divisor, the larger number is your dividend. Now we want to identify the basic fact in this problem. So let's go ahead and take a look. We have 3 as our divisor, and we need to think, well, what does 3 go into evenly or close to evenly? And we see our 15 here. So that's the basic fact that we're going to focus on. How many times does 3 go into 15? Now we have this 0 here, and we're going to take our 0 and we're going to place it over here in our quotient. Then all we're going to do is divide. So how many times does 3 go into 15? It goes in 5 times, and my quotient, or my answer to my division problem, would be 50. So what I did was first identified my basic fact, put my 0 over whichever zeros I did not need, and then I divided. Let's take a look at another problem. Again, we're going to start off with multiplication because that's something that we know quite well. We see 2 zeros over here in 400, so we're going to cross those out. We're going to put them in our product. Now we're going to multiply 4 times 6, and we get 24. So our product is 2,400. I'm going to go down to my division problem, and I'm looking for my basic fact that I know. I have to first start with my divisor, that's my little number, and it's a 6. I move over to my dividend, and I'm looking for my basic fact. What does 6 go into? There's my 24. So that's my basic fact that I'm going to focus on. I have 6 and 24. And I'm left with 2 zeros here. So I'm going to take both of these zeros and place them over in my quotient, or my answer to my division problem. And then I need to divide. How many times does 6 go into 24? It goes in 4 times. So my quotient is 400. 2,400 divided by 6 gives me 400. The really important idea here is that we're identifying our basic facts. Now I want to talk a little bit about our division and what each of these numbers is. So let's take a look. Here are 2 different ways that we can write our division problems. Our first way, we have our dividend. That's our larger number. That's the number we're going to break into our groups. Then we have our divisor. That's how many groups we're going to break it into. So we're breaking 24 into 6 groups, and our quotient is going to be how many are in each group. So these are our 3 basic facts, basic vocabulary words that we're going to deal with. Our dividend is our bigger number. That's the one that's going to be split up. Our divisor is how many pieces is it going to be split up into, and then we have our quotient, which is our answer, or how many go in each of those sections. Over looking down below, and our other division problem. This one just has, sometimes we call it a house. So our dividend goes inside of our house. Our divisor is on the outside of our house, and we're breaking our dividend into pieces. How many pieces? We're breaking it into 4 pieces. So that's just some basic vocabulary so that we understand when I'm giving you some vocabulary and I'm using the words dividend or divisor or quotient, you know what those words mean. Let's take a look at our next problem. Here we have 420 divided by 7, and what we need to do is identify our basic fact. So I have my divisor right here in a 7, and I need to think, does 7 go into 42? Is that something that I can use as my basic fact? It does. I need to think about my multiplication facts. I can write an equation to help me. I can write 7 times what variable? I'm going to use n equals 42. And so that's the basic fact I'm looking for. 7 times what gives me 42. Before I go ahead and solve that, though, I'm going to take my 0, my extra 0 here that I don't need, and I'm going to go ahead and place it in my quotient so I don't forget about it. And now I'm going to divide. How many times does 7 go into 42? It goes in 6 times, so my quotient is 60. Let's take a look at another problem. I want you to try this problem. Figure out what the basic fact is. What am I doing? And then go ahead and don't forget about that 0 and divide. So our basic fact here, we have our 2 as our divisor, and when we look in our dividend, we see an 8. And I know that because 2 is an even number, and 8 is an even number, and I'm focusing on my 2 goes into all even numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, it's going to go in evenly. So that's the basic fact I'm going to focus on. I'm going to cross the 0 out and place it in my quotient. And now all I have is my basic fact left. How many times does 2 go into 8? It goes in 4 times. I can check my work with multiplication. So I would take my quotient of 40, and I'm going to multiply it times my divisor, my smaller number in this case. And when I do that, I get a product of 80. My product should match my dividend. If my product matches my dividend, then I'm all set. All right, let's take a look at our next problem. We have 4,800 divided by 6. Go ahead and identify your basic fact and then divide. Our basic fact in this problem is 6 and 48. 48 divided by 6. I have 2 leftover zeros that I'm going to cross out and place over here in my quotient. And then I'm going to divide. How many times does 6 go into 48? It goes in 8 times. So that is my quotient. Now, I want us to understand why we're crossing those zeros out and what it means. We can rewrite 4,800 as... We can rewrite it as 48 hundreds because my 8 here is in my hundreds place. So I can rewrite this as 48 hundreds divided by 6. If I were to do that, my hundreds would come with me into my answer, my quotient. 6 goes into 48 8 times, so I would have 8 hundreds, and 8 hundreds is equal to 800. So that's just why we're doing those zeros, why we're crossing them out. This tells you why. Okay, next problem. Go ahead and solve this problem. 5,400 divided by 9. Our basic fact here is our 9 and our 54. We're going to cross out our 2 zeros, place them over here in our quotient. Now we need to divide. How many times does 9 go into 54? We can think of it as 9 times what gives me 54? 9 times 6 gives me 54. So my quotient is 600. I can check with multiplication, so I can multiply my quotient of 600 times my divisor of 9. And when I do that, I should end up with my dividend, which is what I started with, which I do. So this is a great way for me to check my work. All right, next problem. This is a tricky one. Find your basic fact first before we cross out our zeros on this problem. In this problem, our basic fact is our 6 as our divisor and then 30. 6 does not go into 3 evenly, but it does go into 30 evenly. So this one's really tricky. We need to identify that 30. I'm going to cross these 2 zeros out, place them in my quotient. I have 30 hundreds, which is what I'm working with. So how many times does 6 go into 30 hundreds? It goes in 5 hundreds times, or 500. I'm going to check my work with multiplication, so I'm going to take my quotient and multiply it times my divisor, and I end up with 3,000. Let's take a look at a word problem. Brady is packing Starbursts in gift bags. Each gift bag, or each bag, gets 4 Starbursts. How many bags does he need if he has 280 Starbursts? We know we're going to set up some division, figure out what your division problem is, and solve it. When we're looking at this problem, we could draw a picture. It would take us a really long time. But each bag, so here's bag, here's a bag, here's a bag, here's a bag, here's a bag, are all going to get 4 Starbursts. And I need to figure out how many bags I'm going to need. We need more than just the number that are written on the screen. So we're going to have to do some division. So for this problem, our division would be 280 divided by 4. I want to know how many bags he's going to need for all those Starbursts. We're going to take the total number of Starbursts and divide them by 4 to figure out how many bags we need. We needed to identify our basic fact of 28 and 4. And so I'm going to cross out my extra 0, place it over here in my quotient, and then I'm going to divide. How many times does 4 go into 28? Or I can think in my head, 4 times what will give me 28, if that's an easier way for you to process division. 4 times 7 gives me 28, so I'm going to put that 7 over here in my quotient, and that is my answer. How many bags is he going to need? Brady needs 70 bags. Okay, 2 more problems for us tonight. Zion is packing 600 pennies into 6 equal rows. So he's taking those 600 pennies and separating them into 6 equal rows. This equal part is important. We don't want unequal rows. Division is all about equality. How many pennies did he put in each roll? What would the equation we set up for this problem be? And then go ahead and solve it. For this problem, we would have 600 divided by 6. We want to identify our basic fact here. We have 6 and 6. 6 goes into itself. So we have 2 extra zeros we'll cross out and bring over here. Then all we have left is 6 divided by 6. How many times does 6 go into 6? It goes in 1 time. So my quotient is 100. So Zion put 100 pennies in each roll. He has $1 in each roll. All right, last problem. Ethan earned 4 times more money this month than he did 3 months ago. If Ethan earned $120 this month, how much did he earn 3 months ago? Go ahead and write an equation for this problem. What are we going to do? We have lots of numbers here. We need to focus on the numbers that are important. So we have 4 times more, that's important. He earned $120 this month, and I want to know what he earned 3 months ago. It wouldn't matter if it's 3 months ago or 10 months ago. All I want to know is what did he earn prior to this? So this 3 doesn't matter here. That's just extra information to kind of throw you off and to give you another number. So he has 4 times more money than he did 3 months ago. So 4 times what he earned 3 months ago, so we're going to put our variable, because I want to know how much he earned then, is equal to $120. Now, in order for me to solve this problem, we see some multiplication, but this is also a division problem. So I can set this problem up as 120 divided by 4 equals n. I could leave it as my multiplication problem. They mean the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide. I'm going to find my basic fact. I have 4 and 12. That's my basic fact. So 4 goes into 12 3 times, and then I have my 0 that I have to bring down. So if he earned 4 times more money this month than last month, or 3 months ago, how much did he earn 3 months ago? He earned $30 3 months ago. Okay, that's division when we're multiplying times tens, hundreds, and thousands. Important things to take away is find your basic fact and cross out those zeros and put them in your quotient. Don't forget about your zeros. See you tomorrow.